Music is land. Musical recordings etch musical moments in time, preserving through mimesis what no longer exists. In the current paradigm, the ubiquity of recordings and flagrant disregard for their value by their very distributors can make getting anyone to listen to the lyrical content of a song as difficult as getting a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. Getting people to talk about how a recording was made, however, is not. Atop of a song. In April 2018, Simone Schmidt, Jeremy Costello, Nick Dorado, and Bianca Palmer met up in Chochage to record their self-titled full-length record Fiverr and the Atlantic School of Spontaneous Composition. With live performances marked by the alchemy of Schmidt's tight songwriting and improvisational tendencies of the unit, the task of producing this self-titled album of 8 originals moved in parallel.
When we're arranging these songs, I like to keep open a breadth of passages, so there are parts that are entirely fixed, and I like to keep them that way for clarity. And then there are parts that are open. And I think that's crucial with this unit of musicians, because to deny their improvisational tendencies would be to deny music itself.
Schmidt approached the production of this record in the same way, employing both conventional analog wisdom that has stood the test of time, as well as other novel techniques. Engineer Gavin Gardner.
Yeah, I think the fixed aspects are pretty clear. Simone only works on tape, and so we started out on an MCI GH16 tape machine. I think it's like 1979 is sort of the golden era for those machines. But about halfway through the first day, we ended up switching over to
A27.
There's some problems with the MCI, and we were down to like a 13-track count or something like that. And then, of course, there's all these more experimental techniques that they want to try. So I just went with it.
Leaning Hard on My Peripheral Vision is the first single off the album, and at first listen sounds like a fine contemporary country classic.
Leaning hard on my peripheral vision, crawling on the edges of my mind, fading through the dregs of this condition. I can't divide, I got you on my side.
Leaning Hard on My Peripheral Vision is a song about enduring seemingly endless struggle. We really don't get to choose how long our trials last for, but it is about how when you're in battle, you have to focus on your opponent, and yet still be able to pay attention to who's on your side, like on your periphery.
Working out of Hotel Tatango, the producer and engineering team set about getting a contemporary sound that held the tension of the instant classic.
It takes a lot of work to create something that feels simple, but actually is robust.
I love the recording of this song because there's just so much fun involved.
But not too much fun.
There's an understated ease in the playing of the song. It's a real joy to sing it with Jeremy. It's a very smooth song. But it is about a reprieve in a seemingly endless struggle, right? So I decided, in order to really convey that tension through the production, I would make it as brutal as possible in process prior to the actual performance of the song.
The high road once proposed leads only to a negative peace. They nod their head as you speak, and they string you along on a wire that's the length of the river of Jordan.
Working with the belief that the physical becomes audible through production techniques that should, in form and process, reflect the content it will deliver, Schmidt mandated that the cabling employed throughout the recording be the exact length of the River of Jordan, a whopping 251 kilometers.
Nathan speaking. Yeah, never seen a rental like that. We had to get a lot of our branches working together to get that long cabling. We got that 50-foot cable. It was about 3,280 feet in a kilometer. Multiply that by 251 times. Big cables damn near the ceiling in here.
On other projects I've been involved with, this might have been considered a unnecessary expense, but in this case I think it was really important that we went that extra distance.
While the closing of the original recording lasted for an hour in order to reflect the never-ending condition of suffering referenced in the song, the decision in post-production to cut the concluding jam was made to meet industry standards for a single. Drummer Bianca Palmer.
At the end of the song, where it's a relentless chatter on each side, and it kind of sounds like driving in a van with the two of them when I just want them to shut up. But it's so beautiful because they love each other so much, and it's two very genius, similar minds meeting, and it's chaotic.
Lap steel player Nick Dorado discusses the conflict between industry mandates and music itself.
You know, if you combine listening and patience, then you're actually living in a different world than the world that you are compelled to live in, where there's like no time and you're being bombarded with information and sound and vibration, so that you can't feel as though you can listen without it being sort of overstimulating, anxiety-inducing. And then so part of the way that I've been working with musicians in general is that, like, you know, learning to find the ground, learning to relax, learning how to listen, because it's like, again, something that you have to learn about in the context that we live in. And like, those places allow for music to happen, and it like doesn't have a prescribed beginning and end. It's just like sound, and it could always kind of go on. And then like it's like obviously so reflected in the way that we see recordings working in the world, where they're just like, they have to be 3 minutes, and then like, again, you know, look into why that is. It just doesn't make any sense, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, vinyl is limited, or 22 minutes per side, so sometimes in post you find yourself having to curtail a jam.
Next on Atop of a Song.
You're like, you can't just like get upset about everything in this world that's about waste and narcissism.
But you can sing about it. When we come back to Atop of a Song, we'll talk about the upcoming single from Fiverr and the Atlantic School of Spontaneous Composition's self-titled debut, Paid in Pride.